There are many people who are smart, ambitious, and extroverted, but leaders are fundamentally different from everyone. It might be some secret part of DNA that helps them stand out. No one can say for sure. The dusty pages of history have mentioned many people, but whenever you search under the category of transformational, there is one name you will always see: William Henry Gates III, famously known as Bill Gates. A genius of the modern technological world, his name is synonymous with vision, innovation, and transformation. Born in Seattle, Washington, on October 28, 1955, Gates had a curious mind since his early years. It is a quality you will find in every great leader in history. The urge to explore is so insatiable that sufficing only on what they have been told is not an option for them. The 13-year-old Bill Gates was intrigued by computers and technology. With an IQ of 160, Bill Gates had the spark to lead an extraordinary life. By his 16th birthday, he'd already created his first profitable computer program called Traf-O-Data. The friend who helped him with this project became an eminent face of Microsoft later. He is no one else but Paul Allen. The story began when Bill worked at a company that used pressure-sensitive rubber tubes to count the number of car wheels in order to analyze traffic flow patterns. From reading to writing results down, the process was manual and too much of a hassle for Bill. From a young age, Gates knew how to take the initiative to spark a fire. So, Bill and his friend, Paul, thought it would be easier to do it with Traf-O-Data. The objective was to be able to read information from roadway traffic counters and generate reports. So, they paid some young students to read paper tapes and transfer the data onto computer cards. Then, they made data charts on hourly traffic flows at the University of Washington Library. Later, they had a machine built in order to automate the process of reading the tapes. This first business of Bill and Paul did not work. They had to stop it. Allen told Newsweek, "Traf-O-Data was a good idea with a flawed business model. The project might have been a failure, but it was necessary for a greater venture they both were to embark on in the future." As Gates grew older, no one around him was left with any doubts that he was born to transform the world. In 1973, Bill enrolled in Harvard as a pre-law student because he wanted to be like his father, but mathematics and graduate-level computer science seemed to intrigue him more. He even mentioned this during one of his visits to Harvard later. Gates recalled how he enrolled in so many courses because they all looked amazing. Back then, he had almost instantly gained academic accolades at the university because he was smart enough to develop an algorithm to address an unsolved query posed by one of his professors in his combinatorics course. He published that solution in collaboration with the computer science theorist Christos Papadimitriou. It was a chilly evening in December 1974 when Paul Allen saw that Popular Electronics had featured Altair, a home computer for hobbyists, that was about to hit the market. He took it to Gates, who then resided in the Currier House room at Harvard. During the Christmas holidays of 1974, they both decided to write software for hobbyists that wanted to make their own programs on the Altair. Specifically, they decided to launch a personal computer software industry. Bill and Paul Allen's vision of having a computer on every desktop and in every home seemed unrealistic to the majority of people. But more than 77% of American households had a computer by 2010. It would not have been possible without the life work of Gates. To quote Gates's words, "When Paul showed me the magazine, there was no such thing as a software industry. We had an insight that you could create one, and we did. That was the most important idea I have ever had." The man knew that these things did not happen overnight. They are a culmination of sleepless nights and tireless efforts. He also knew that a leader does not just come up with a good idea, but instead rolls his sleeves up and gets to the job. At the same time, Gates was also not afraid of failure. According to his philosophy on life, success is a lousy teacher. It makes smart people think they can't lose. He ignored the exam cramming that he was supposed to do and holed up day and night for 8 weeks at Harvard's Aiken Computer Lab with Allen and Davidoff writing history. Allen recalled seeing him alternately pacing and rocking before scribbling basic interpreter code on a yellow pad, having his hands stained from the ink of felt-tip pens. Then, He would perfect it on a simulator Allen had prepared on a PDP-10 mainframe at the Aiken lab. He could go like that for hours without eating and drinking. In the wee hours, Bill would doze off at the terminal. He would wake up after a couple of hours, blink twice, squint at the screen, think something, and start writing precisely where he had left off. His determination has led him to be one of the most impactful leaders to have walked on the earth. Today, he recalls that program as the coolest he had ever written. Allen took the program to the creators of Altair, and they agreed to license it. Bill and Allen, who had named their venture Microsoft, were officially set to see a breakthrough. A couple of months later, Allen was offered a job in Albuquerque by the founder of the company that created Altair, Ed Roberts. Gates was still at Harvard, but only until he was hauled before the administration for a disciplinary process. It started when the auditors from the university found out that PDP-10, which it was funding, was mostly used by a sophomore named W.H. Gates. After much fretting and describing how he had created a version of BASIC using the machine, he was exonerated. Later, he was admonished following a non-student, Allen, to log in with his password. He completed his sophomore year, flew to Albuquerque, and stayed there rather than returning for his semester in the fall. Fueled by his love for developing and creating, he spent years working from his garage, coding, programming, and envisioning solutions with global reach. In 1976, he returned to Harvard for 2 semesters, but left again for good. 3 decades later, he returned to acquire his honorary degree. I have been waiting more than 30 years to say this. Dad, I always told you I'd come back and get my degree, he said, while beginning his speech. Microsoft officially went public in 1986 and conquered the technological world. Until this day, it has managed to stay at the top of the market, and the reason is Gates' leadership. Leadership requires a passion that drives you to take charge and turn a brilliant idea into a sustainable revenue machine. That is why Gates worked long shifts to understand the market and develop products that speak for his business, even after Microsoft had established a reputation. It already had a share price of billions by 1987, which made Gates one of the youngest self-made billionaires. His current net worth has been said to be around $137 billion, according to Forbes. Although it has ranged over $150 billion at some point, most of its portion goes to humanitarian services and philanthropy. In 2017, Bill Gates was ranked the richest in technology. His company has spent more than half of its lifetime fighting antitrust battles with law enforcers. If nothing else, it has earned itself a chapter in history books for fighting one of the biggest monopoly wars in the US. In the 90s, Microsoft was shining bright as one of the leading companies in the software and technology world. Its rising presence in the personal computing market raised suspicions among the federal authorities. The Department of Justice and the Attorneys General of 20 different states filed antitrust charges against Microsoft. The suit followed the browser wars when Netscape, one of the top competitors, collapsed because Microsoft granted free access to its browser. To be more specific, the company's step of tying Internet Explorer with the Windows operating system attracted considerable attention. Integrating Internet Explorer with Windows puts Netscape Navigator and other web browser developers at a competitive disadvantage. The antitrust authorities argued Microsoft was unfairly leveraging its market dominance to promote its other software offerings. Such actions were seen as monopolistic, hindering competition and innovation in the technological realm. The trial did not run smoothly, and the case was plagued with problems. The case was ridiculed with misleading claims, false statements, tempered evidence, and a plethora of courtroom distractions. Microsoft openly claimed that its competitors were threatened due to its rising popularity. The company was making its impact as the biggest innovator of the era, and CEO Gates was widely considered a genius. The company confidently asserted that even if it were to be classified as a monopoly, it would still be perceived as non-coercive at best. A group of economists even published an open letter to the president in support of the company, stating that laws such as antitrust hurt consumers and domestic firms on a global level. They argued that consumers preferred Microsoft Windows due to the convenience it offers. Windows may not have been superior to Unix, Linux, and Macintosh, but it became popular due to the ease of installation and the software options that come in bundles with it. Despite the support, Microsoft lost the case. The presiding US federal judges ruled that Microsoft indeed violated the parts of the Sherman Antitrust Act and decreed Bill Gates to split the company into two parts. Windows will make up one half and the software arm will make up the other. However, Gates did not take the ruling lightly and challenged the decision. The appeals court overturned the orders to break up the big tech. As a result, the Department of Justice decided to settle with Microsoft. As a part of the settlement, Microsoft agreed to share interfaces with other companies. The stock traded at $27.63 a share when the settlement was proposed. Later, it closed at $25.36 a share. The competition eroded Microsoft's once invincible market share, but played a significant role in making the market favorable for the big tech companies we see today, such as Google and Apple. The case marked many breakthroughs in Microsoft's history, including their first agreement to develop an operating system for IBM and the creation of graphic icons to feature in Windows. Many of you might not know, but Gates stepped down from his role as a CEO following this case. Steve Ballmer was given the title, while Gates assumed the role of chief software architect. According to him, he wanted to spend more of his time developing new programs, including software to interface with speech and handwriting recognition features. It was an epic display of legendary leadership by Bill Gates. That is what legendary leaders do: evolve and move forward. No matter what comes along the way, they keep sailing unfazed by the hurdles and struggles. In 2001, Microsoft stepped into the video games business with the Xbox gaming console. It was a successful launch by a company that had only launched boxed software before. The company had made a striking debut in a savagely competitive retail market. If you talk about workplace tools, the utility and ubiquity of Microsoft is unquestionable. However, every product cannot be successful. The company's inability to understand the consumer market completely did not hurt them until the competitors began to emerge around. Microsoft faced multiple high-profile product failures which bruised the company's reputation. The first launch was the Zune MP3 player. Then, Windows Vista and other products followed. In a way, Microsoft's most interesting products failed. Zune was seen as a cash-grab copy of Apple's iPod. Microsoft did not focus on bringing a better product. It just wanted to sell more than Apple. It shows how Microsoft's culture of dominating through numbers rather than creating superior products harmed it as a brand. Later, hot on the heels of the catastrophe of Windows Vista, Microsoft piled up on it with the release of Windows 7. The launch managed to do fine in the business market, but confused the common person. It does not come as a surprise when you realize that Microsoft had launched 6 different versions of it instead of one flawless product. After being disappointed by the results yielded by Bing search engine and Windows Phone, Microsoft's reputation received a significant blow. Not to forget, the shadow of the antitrust lawsuit from the 90s still hovered over the company. In 2011, the company debuted Office 365 to invigorate its ailing productivity. However, it was also seen as a predictable, reflexive, and defensive move by the company, which was shadowed by emerging competitors across Silicon Valley. Soon after, Microsoft acquired Skype and Yammer. That also did not make much of a difference. On top of that, Windows 8 also failed. In 2015, Microsoft launched Windows 10. The event was highly criticized for being a disaster, but the program looked great. Since then, Microsoft has not made any major product launches, although it has invested in artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies. We all know about the long-standing rivalry between Apple and Microsoft. However, many do not know that Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy. In August 1997, Gates proved, yet again, that eliminating competition is not the only way to win. Rather than leaving Apple bleeding to death, he invested $150 million in the company. "Bill, thank you. The world's a better place." His words were memorialized on the Time magazine's cover. For Microsoft, the investment was synonymous with breathing life into one of its greatest competitors. But Gates saw it as a business opportunity that worked out very well, according to him. The deal did not end the competition between the two tech giants. In fact, it shaped a considerable part of the computer industry that we see today. In 2011, when Steve Jobs died, Bill Gates honored the Apple logo as both a competitor and friend. He wrote nothing but all the great things in Jobs' memory and how he missed working with him. Gates has demonstrated how to become a successful businessman without disconnecting from your inner human spirit. His leadership style is a perfect example for today's entrepreneurs who want to learn from him. Similar to this friendship, Microsoft began improving its relationship with former competitors in 2013. The Microsoft owner met Melinda French, his future wife, while she was working as a product manager for the company. After connecting at a sales meeting in New York City, Bill asked Melinda out on a date, which she refused because she thought it lacked spontaneity. Bill proposed to her after 6 years of dating. They celebrated their engagement with a trip to Africa in 1993 that happened to be a transformative experience of their life. The newly engaged pair call it their first encounter with extreme poverty. There, they decided to use their wealth to help people. They founded a philanthropic foundation to serve their cause a few years after. In 1994, the couple jetted off to Hawaii for a destination wedding. The Seattle Times said the lavish event took place at the Manel Bay Hotel in the presence of their family and friends. In 1996, the couple welcomed their first baby, and Melinda decided to put up a resignation at Microsoft as she did not want her baby to be raised by a governess. The couple welcomed their second child in 1999 and their third in 2002. Gates and French started tons of philanthropic projects together and were awarded the French Legion of Honor in recognition of their efforts. The couple finally decided to part ways in 2021. A great leader is never static, but rather progressive, and leaders like Bill Gates never settle for what they have achieved. They continue to look forward. To quote him, "We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction." That is the reason why, beyond his role as a trailblazing entrepreneur, Bill Gates transcended the domain of business and embraced a profound sense of responsibility for the service of humanity. He has a selfless approach to leadership. He likes investing his time and resources to improve the lives and careers of others. His ability to see the potential in both technology and humanity has cemented his legacy as a true visionary leader. The vision has led him to establish the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Guided by an unwavering urge to make a positive impact, Gates has taken many humanitarian initiatives that have inspired thousands of others to join the fight for a fairer, more equitable world. Like an admirable leader, Gates derives satisfaction from providing benefits, imparting knowledge, sharing wisdom, and guiding people. His foundation has donated billions to causes all around the world, making a substantial impact on the lives of children and adults. It illustrates his character and determination toward his social responsibility as an influential global citizen. His code of conduct is a perfect example of how life is more than just making a profit. In 2008, Gates put up a resignation from his full-time role at Microsoft to focus on philanthropy. He held a public press conference 2 years ago to announce that he would be retiring from the Microsoft board. The reason was the same as 13 years ago. He wanted to prioritize his role as a philanthropist. Bill Gates' sphere of influence extends far beyond helping people and making technology more and more impressive. In his post-Microsoft career, Gates is also known for his work fighting diseases and climate change. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, the news channels and media streams focused heavily on his thoughts as he was in contact with Anthony Fauci, Director, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Other than that, he is known to heavily fund journalism, including NPR and the social networking site ResearchGate. His investment portfolio includes nuclear power, global live satellite video, AI, geoengineering, synthetic breast milk, and animal protein. Bill Gates has earned several medals and awards until now. The most prominent ones include the Turing Award for shaping the foundations of computing, the Presidential Medal of Freedom as a recognition of his contribution to the United States, and the Padma Bhushan Award as a recognition for his philanthropic work in India. Gates is also famous for his speeches and columns. People all over the world enjoy the wisdom that he shares in his articles. Apart from that, how to avoid a climate disaster, the road ahead, and business at speed of thought are his contributions as an author. Bill Gates' name will forever be etched as a visionary leader who dared to dream big, challenge the status quo, and use his influence to create a lasting and meaningful impact on the world we inhabit. His life is a model to follow in your career. You will be going to the office for the most part of your life. Why not work for something that you truly enjoy doing? There is no point in getting stuck in a career that does not interest you. It is hard to inspire others or even imagine creating a strategy when you are in a profession that does not ignite a spark inside you. If you have stepped into it for the sake of money only, you will get tired sooner or later. But when doing what you actually enjoy, you will wake up excited to go to work. Obviously, the odds of making an impact will also be more. If you found this video insightful and want to see more, check out some of our previous videos and hit the subscribe button to stay connected.